timer counts down. I don't know if that is only visible for us, Hugo, or for everyone.
It's for everyone. I think we are live.
Then 3, 2, 1. Good afternoon, everyone. And first of all, Hugo, really nice to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again. 1 year later, here we are for the second edition of the Fastlane Summit.
Exactly. So hopefully we are not the only one talking to each other. Hopefully many of you guys, of our guests that registered for this afternoon are with us. Let's do the first test maybe
There you
in the
go.
everyone chat. Let's say one question for you because it's the interactive part. Where are you located currently? Hugo, you can tell us currently where you are. The others are
Yeah,
maybe writing that in the chat, but you are not
yeah,
at
sure.
home. And I tried to come to the Netherlands today, but you are not there.
No, I can see some people are from sunny London. That's two words we don't see together often. German Bonn, England, Munich, Germany. I am tuning in from Helsinki in Finland, and it's actually -3 degrees, and it's full snow outside, which is nice for a change. And so I having a nice, little breeze. And yeah, just for the audience that hasn't met me, I'm Hugo Pereira. For the ones that joined the Fastlane Summit last year, you probably saw me as one of the hosts, along with Marco. We did such I hope it was a good job that you were invited back again to moderate this year. And yeah, and you probably know me from the 7 years at EPVox, one of the large electric vehicle charging manufacturer, for 7 years as a chief growth officer. And then for the last 3 years, I've been mostly helping scale-ups and startups in the e-mobility and climate tech space with their go-to-market. And I do love to host events. I do love to facilitate alongside you, Marco. And so I'm excited for today. I'm excited to see what comes across. And I love to see that there are people from Germany, Cyprus, England, France, Netherlands. So it's a nice, great group put together. And we're going to have a great time and a great agenda today.
Exactly. So a few words about me. I'm Marco. I'm agile coach at Valence, usually located in Germany in Wuppertal. But today, my colleague Tim and I, we had the pleasure to play around with some Lego in a University of Maastricht for some Scrum simulation. So if you are interested, if you don't know what Scrum is or what Lego is, feel free to approach us. But however, I would say we start right away a bit into the mobility business, Hugo. Yeah, that is why the people are here. Last year, you kind of grilled me with a car or something, huh?
Yeah, last year I was in shock that you're working for the mobility industry and you still have a sports BMW combustion engine. So, 3 years passed. Do you still have that BMW?
Yes.
No.
Really happy about it. And but I have to admit, last year it was kind of I was not really convinced to buy an EV car, but at least the Fastlane Summit and the speakers, the content last year, let's say, brought me to the idea that it might be a good idea. And now, let's say, in parallel to that sports car, I'm currently thinking of what could be an EV car to buy. So it's a small step, but it's a step forward, to the new world.
We have like now close to 100 people online. Which electric vehicle should Marcus get? What is a good first choice so that he doesn't regret quickly? Especially if he lives in Germany, so he has to have a good range. Lotus Emea, wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Tommy, but please payable for me. Yeah, so the salary.
Yeah, that's not a question. Like i4 Cybertruck. I'm not sure if a Cybertruck will, on the hands of Marco, would be a good idea, but
it will just fall apart, right?
We have a Polestar too. I was today in a taxi, which was the first time I was in a Polestar. It was a nice experience for sure. We have some Polestar, a BMW i4 is winning. Dacia Spring. That's a nice one. I think it's a good. I think it's a good choice, starting with the Dacia and then go from there. But yeah, let us know once you get the car.
Yeah, I will let you know, guys. So everyone of you will receive an email. Yeah, so another invitation maybe for an even faster summit, that I keep you posted on that.
All right.
But how about your, let's say, family cars or vehicles?
Yeah. We'll see about that. Well, I don't have an EV even after a year. I don't have any car, and that's the perks of living in Amsterdam. Having a car is more of a constraint and a benefit at times. But I did get an electric vehicle per se. So I got a cargo bike, one of those electric cargo bikes, since now I have 2 daughters and I have to carry them around. So yes, I have a traditional Dutch bike that costs almost as much as a second-hand car. But so yeah, the expense is the same, but the experience in the rain is not. So and there's no airco, nothing. It's just pure breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh air, yeah. So that is
Fresh
why
air,
you look
fresh
so
air.
healthy.
Yeah,
Probably.
exactly.
All right.
All right, good.
Good.
So, what do we have for today?
Let's jump into the agenda, and hopefully the screen share will be visible in a second. That should be now the case. By the way, before I forget it, yeah, so you see now this beautiful background is the slide here, the backgrounds that Hugo and I are using. Of course, we are now sitting here in several hotel rooms and talking to you, but under the hood, a lot of preparation, even on the last minute, needed to be taken care of. So really kudos and love goes out to the colleagues from Valence who made this afternoon possible. Yeah, so really great effort, and thanks a lot for that. Coming to the agenda, because this is why you are here, we have a really cool lineup this year for the Fastlane Summit, and we will start with Johanna in 2 minutes with the keynote. Then we have Klaus for the masterclass and the roundtable together with Christian, with Wolf, and with Piotr. I'm really looking forward to every one of the slots in the slots. And Hugo, I really don't know which is my favorite.
Yeah, there's a lot of different topics, and I like that you have a bit of a larger vision, starting with Johanna from IONITY. Then we have a very specific masterclass with Klaus, and then we wrap up with a panel which we already had we had a preview yesterday in the dry run, and we hope it becomes as spicy as it looked like for the
Great.
audience as well. I think it's also worth noting that some of you might have registered and saw a potential other masterclass, and that unfortunately there was a last-minute illness that we couldn't prevent from the speaker, so we had to shuffle things around. But other than that, it is still an exciting agenda, and yeah, we look forward to get it started.
Definitely, and this is exactly where Johanna joins the stage. So good afternoon, Johanna. So question to you, where are you currently?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm in Munich, and I hope you can hear me.
Yes, loud and clear. So even from
Perfect.
Munich, the connection is good.
Yeah, it's a little bit of snow here, so but that doesn't seem to interfere. That's good.
Yeah, it's starting the time in the year again. Yeah, so looking forward to the last months already. Small Christmas vibes. Okay, Johanna, if you want, the stage would be yours directly. Steal me the screen share, and then go ahead.
Yes.
Kick it off here.
Give me a second to get the right screen, of course. And then I'll go to presentation mode, of course. And please give me a feedback whether you can see everything in full screen.
Looks great.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thanks a lot, Valence and everyone, for having me for that exciting keynote about looking ahead and saying, like, what happened 2025 that might probably shape also the next decade for electric mobility. Powering Ahead is the title. I'm Johanna. I'm in the industry since 2012 already, so quite a while. I've been with a technology consultancy for 8 years and led all the charging related topics and charging infrastructure business there. And now I'm with IONITY since end of 2023, being part of the product and growth team at IONITY, and being responsible for our digital strategy and the customer success. But I try today in the keynote to not focus only on IONITY, but to give you a broader picture. So yeah, let's kick it off with that. I thought, being asked like what's ahead of us, it's always good also to take a look back. And that's why I thought about what happened 10 years ago. And I think when we looked at the EV models that were driving around back then, Tesla with the Model S was a little bit already a long-range car. I think 120 kilowatt of charging capacity. But apart from that, we had so many topics. We had plug chaos, CHAdeMO, CCS2. We had 50 kilowatt maximum charge power DC. We had AC 43 kilowatt with many of the cars. Range was a real issue. I remember driving from Stuttgart to Würzburg, and we were really closely checking out where are fast charges and what is the best way to do this rather short trip. Also with the en route charging, you see that 2015 I was part of the SLAM project in Germany, which was a public funding project, and supported the rollout of the 50 kilowatt multi-chargers that you see in this picture. You see the cables lying around at the floor. You see that this is still the triple charger edition with CHAdeMO, CCS2, and so on. And of course, with the digital services, IONITY was not even founded, and neither was, for example, Digital Charging Solution. I think Hubject just started to connect the first CPO. So we really had a hugely fragmented offering landscape, limited roaming options. Many providers tested the waters with the charging infrastructure and provided free mode charging, or even with a key, as you can see in the picture. And I remember back in the days organizing some test drives across Europe, and we had a huge folder of charging cards carrying around. Back then, we had major roadblocks to face. It was not really suitable for daily usage, especially when it came to long distance traveling and range infrastructure, but also the price of the cars with cell costs of more than $200 per kilowatt hour and so on were quite an issue. So comparing that with today, I think that we really achieved something great already in that last 10 years. We see a huge variety of highly interesting EVs, and I will come to that later on. But we also see that there happened a lot in the public charging landscape. For example, 2015, we had something like 6,000 public charging points in Germany. Now we have approximately 180,000. We have huge projects with several hundreds of plugs in one location, often also AC, but yes, this is like really scaling up. We have a higher number of outlets, we have higher powers on these outlets, and of course also the digital services got streamlined. We have, I think DCS announced lately, they have more than 1 million charging points connected across Europe, and quantity doesn't seem to be the issue anymore. There's enough chargers everywhere around. You can relatively easy charge. There's also the AFIR regulation that requires the payment terminals being rolled out and being added to new sites. So yes, this is really something that has improved. And also IONITY has launched this year, end of March, a new end customer app, which is really focusing on a better charging experience and making charging as easy as possible. So I think up until now, we have proven that electric mobility works very well, and we have reached a high road capability. Electric vehicles are suitable for everyday usage, but also for travels, for long distance traveling. And we definitely now face new challenges, which are more regarding the seamless offering in a complex ecosystem, but also, for example, customer experience. So yeah, we need to get ready for the next era of e-mobility now. And in this graph, you see that 2015, coming from approximately 400,000 cars in all our battery electric vehicles all over Europe, we have now reached a new height. We had, as I said, 400,000 cars in all over Europe. Now in October in Germany, we had more than 400,000 cars newly registered. So this is really turning around here. year to date, we had 2.3 million BEV registrations in Europe. That's a year-on-year growth of 31%. So we definitely see strong growth path. And also average range and average peak charging power is increasing. And we have quite reached a huge progress, or we made a huge progress already here. And this also affects the customers we are addressing. In the first place, we addressed innovators, then there were the early adopters, but now we're on the threshold to address the early majority. And this will also change the requirements that we as industry, charging industry, EV industry representatives will face. We need to make sure that it's really reliable and seamless and easy. The expectation is to have an EV that just works. They do not want to get into trial and error and figure things out and engage pretty heavily. What is the right tariff or what is the right route to take? The importance of public charging is increasing because also city dwellers without private parking opportunities joining more and more the EV world, and they need access then to suitable public charging, also urban HPC hubs. Of course, we have this higher charging capacity, and albeit price always stays an important factor. We see that these early majority coming to the market, and this is also what studies tell us, look for reliability, they look for quality, they look for a good experience to then decide what is the best provider and the best offering for them. And how has that already now provided a glimpse into the future and what has happened this year that hopefully prepares us for the big growth that is coming and also for these new customer requirements. So first of all, and I already touched on that, we have a new generation of EVs. They are, for me, the living proof of the road capability of the technology. We have charging powers that are 400 kilowatts and beyond. I think Xiaopeng P7 showcase at IAA, something like 480 kilowatts. We have charging rates demonstrated at CATL Tech Day in China of 12C. That means you can charge a 60 kilowatt hour battery with a charging rate of up to 720 kilowatt. And I remember we often discussed, is 3C possible, is 5C possible? So now we're aiming towards much higher charging rates. We have several vehicles that went on some record-breaking trips, driving electric more than 1,000 kilometers without any charging stop. And I personally also saw a post on LinkedIn that I really liked, where Smart number 5 did a 1,000 kilometer road trip from the south of France to Germany, charging at IONITY. And the 1,000 kilometers were covered in 9.5 hours, 2 small charging stops of 15 minutes, already enough to cover such a long trip. And then we also see that the is changing. Renault just introduced a smaller vehicle below 20,000 euro. That was also that very important barrier that we talked a lot about also in the German automotive industry. And then I looked also at the Mercedes-Benz CLA, and I found it so interesting to see that the price difference between the classical ICE and the BEV is just something like 3,000 euro. So the gap between the ICEs and the BEV is becoming smaller. And this, for me, is the sign that we are heading into a direction where electric mobility becomes the new standard. And as I said, with already 2.3 million BEV registration this year, I think it shows that this is really a technology not only for specific target groups, but for the bigger majority and for the bigger society. Second important trend that I perceive in the market, and I think will shape also the future requirements and situation here, is trucks and larger electric vehicles joining the market, especially for the heavy duty trucks and for the long haul transportation. We often had the discussion, what is the right technology? Will it be hydrogen? Will it be batteries? How can we cover these long routes, like is the battery too heavy? Is the charging rate sufficient? And now we see that suddenly heavy-duty trucks are picking up speed. It's still relatively low numbers, and these 3.8% that I'm showing on the right-hand side is only something like 8,500 units. But compared to 3,400 in the full year of 2024, like in the stock, it shows that this segment is like growing enormously, and also shows that regarding the choice of, or like what kind of technology will prevail in the future, is somehow clearly tending into one direction, because at the same time, H2 Mobility shuts down 14 hydrogen sites in Germany. And megawatt charging is live. Norway, Germany, some pilot sites. Milans has opened, meanwhile, more than 30 charging hubs across Europe. And we also see that these alternative drivetrains are also promoted and further enhanced by regulatory framework. There's this Eurovignette directive, which allows a toll exemption for e-trucks until 2031. And for example, Germany already put that opportunity and put it into action. So did also other markets, for example, Netherlands, but also Belgian regions, Flanders and Brussels. And of course, IONITY also joined the, let's call it, fleet train, and we launched a dedicated fleet offer beginning of that year, where we also see a very strong interest from logistic companies and fleet customers, because I think in the first step for them, it was just important to be able to drive from A to B, and often that was subsidized projects and whatever. But now the TCO sensitivity of that segment is kicking in, and they are also looking for really good offers and opportunities to make also the public charging case as attractive as possible. Then something that is not directly related maybe to the HPC segment, so not IONITY, at least not in the very first place, but we see that the electric vehicle is becoming more and more part of something bigger. We see that this integrated energy at home is also driven by regulatory framework, becoming a real case. And I remember vehicle to grid and vehicle to home, and all these applications have been in the discussion like forever. And also, especially with Shadimo cars, the technical capability was there already for quite a while. But now we are moving closer to make this really part of our daily usage. Also during or around the IAA in Munich, BMW, Elli, but also Mercedes-Benz introduced some pilot vehicle-to-grid applications and even launched serious products that are able to do so, including DC wall boxes. And also these DC wall boxes are now at a price, I think something like 2,000 euro, which is not so far off anymore. We see that the rollout of smart meters in Europe is picking up speed. Unfortunately, Germany is not the front runner here, but still lacks of market penetration of smart meters. But across Europe, Nordics are almost at 100%. France and Spain are somewhere in the 90 to 99%. We have a real opportunity to make the BEV a part of a bigger renewable energy system in the future. And here also in Germany, at least some progress on the regulatory side, where we have the BD charging now exempt from the grid fees and some taxes when the energy is stored just temporarily in the cars. Yeah, so last but not least, and I think I teased that already with also looking at the early majority and these customers with their new requirements, I think we also need to rediscuss and think about our business models. It's not about just selling kilowatt hours and just making charging work, but it's about providing a nice and good experience. It's about creating a loyal and recurring customer base, and for us as a CPO also how we can differentiate. I hear some noise. Are you still with me?
We are.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
The timer that is expired.
Okay, so I'll hurry up. It's already almost the last slide. So for example, at IONITY, we integrated a route planning functionality in our app. And quite recently, that was just launched last week, so brand new, we also added a voucher and as we call it, credit balance functionality. That means for certain actions or certain, during certain times, you get a voucher code, and this is then transferred into free kilowatt hours that you can apply in our network. So I think all in all, and also looking at the enhanced site quality that we see with shops, with many amenities on the charging park, it's really about to take that to the next level. And this is also, I think, a little bit my conclusion, like what's ahead of us, what is shaping the next 10 years. For me, it's to rethink and further develop charging, to put it on a new level, and to not just make it to plug in, but to develop it into an experience. So I'm really excited, and I think all of us should be to work on that. The progress of the previous 10 years that I showed initially should give us some real support and confidence that we will also master the next steps. And yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the next decade. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Johanna, for the keynote so far. Great start into our Fastlane Summit. If you allow, we still have time for the questions that we have in the question tab. So I start from Philip. Do you see payment terminal usage increasing with B2C customers at IONITY chargers?
It's a very good question. And I would say as IONITY is present across 24 markets, it depends pretty much on the market. So we see quite a different customer behavior. And there is certain markets where a huge share of our direct business also is coming through the payment terminals. So yes, I think it has definitely an importance.
All right, good. Thank you. Next one from Vlad. Do you see founding of Charge League as a necessity to have first real competition to Tesla's supercharging network, or rather it is a sign market is consolidating with the new MSP 3.0 product? Thanks in advance.
Thank you very much for that interesting question, and also for picking up the new name already. We had last week an industry event where we came together also with the Charge League partners and some guests. And there we also underlined what is the purpose of Charge League. And the idea behind is to say electric mobility, we have a steep path ahead of us, as I also showed, regarding reliability, seamless integration, also the trust of the customer that everything works well. And the idea behind Charge League is to implement something and set something like a common standard and give the customer the confidence and say, like, if you're charging at one of the Charge League partners, you're going to be covered with high quality, high reliability. It's something like our CEO, Jeroen, described it like that, and I will take over that example because I really liked it. If you go to the TV shop and there's all different TVs, and then you have the sticker, what technology is inside, like Dolby Digital or whatever, this is for you as a customer a sign of confidence that you chose or might to choose the right product. And we aim for the same with Charge League. And then another quote that I would like to bring to that from last week's event is also the competition is not so much against each other, but it's more like we're still in the transition. And I think we still have a lot of work to do together to convince the people that electric mobility is the right choice and better than a combustion engine car. So the real competitor is more the ICE instead of the other CPOs or the other charging networks.
All right, good. Then one more question or two more questions, then continue with the one from Hassan. Considering the increasing number of e-trucks across Europe, is there really a need for megawatt chargers, or are 400 kilowatt chargers sufficient? What do you think?
It's a very good question. I would say what we also learn from our fleet customers is, of course, they are looking for very high charging powers to make charging fit as good as possible into their usage patterns. They have some very heavy restriction on driving times, driving cycles, break times, and so on. And the less hassle the charging itself brings to that, the better. So I guess the idea of having megawatt charging here is definitely a point. And on the other hand, we will not need these high peak powers like every time and across the whole charging session. We will also see a higher share of overnight charging. That's why we also see that the load balancing at these stations and making sure that you have a flexibility of either go for high peak powers or like distributed across several charges is highly important also for the truck applications.
Right. So some more questions flying in. I would say after these three, we then stop. So next one from Balachandra. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. If not, please excuse me. How are you solving for charging app fragmentation for consumers? Sorry. How are you solving for charging?
Sorry, can you repeat?
For consumers?
So we offer a charging app. Like what is?
Yeah. So also for
now
me,
I get it. Okay. So
understand.
Yeah, no, I think now I get it. So first of all, yes, there's this fragmented MSP landscape. Many partners providing their own charging services. We as a CPO are of course partnering with as many MSPs and platforms as possible to be as open as possible. On the other hand, as I said, we're also building our own proposition because we see that there we have a higher control also of data quality, of value add services, of also like managing the demand better and distributing the usage. But to be honest, I think it's not on us as CPOs to solve that high variety of MSPs out there in the market. That's maybe something that time will tell how these business models might evolve and what's the right target audience and target group for these different approaches.
Okay, good. And then two
I
questions.
hope that answered the question.
Yeah, hope as well. Yeah, thanks. Two questions from Max. First one, with more and more EVs reaching peak charging speeds of more than 350 kilowatt and even above 500 in the outlook from German premium brands, do you have a plan on replacing your chargers by more powerful ones?
Yes, we are screening the market on that. We are also in close contact, of course, with our shareholders from the automotive industry. And we'll make sure that in the future we have a very good fit also with the peak charging powers. Let's put it like that. And we will keep you guys posted on the updates, and maybe there's also some news already popping up very soon.
All right. Good. And what is your strategy on charging station sizes? Are we seeing more stations with 12 plus chargers?
Yeah, yes, of course. I think the high availability of plugs is important also to the customers, give them confidence about availabilities, covering peak times. On the other hand, we also see that it depends pretty much on the site we're talking about and on the location we're talking about. We are also going more into the metropolitan areas where we build up charging hubs. And of course, there might be some space restrictions that not enable us to set up 12 plus chargers everywhere. But as I said, of course, especially for the long distance traveling at highly important traffic nodes, we are also aiming for large charging parks and following on that strategy very consequently. But and I think you all know that there might be some restrictions to that, and we cannot always do it as we wish to. First, as I said, is the space. Second is also then the grid connection and capacities that we have there.
All right. Good. Johanna, thanks a lot for your keynote and being there for all the questions that we had so far. The timer again. So this.
Thank you very much.
You are back.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to be with you guys, and looking forward to now listen also to the other sessions.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, I think we are still more to come here. We still have two big rounds, I would say. Hugo, while I'm preparing the next slot, what would you say is your takeaway from the content that you heard?
Yeah, there are 2 or 3 elements I really enjoy. The first one from Johanna was the last 10 years preparing for the upcoming 10 was a really nice, interesting understanding of like, yeah, we got to the momentum that now allows us to expand for the next year. The second one was good also to hear that it's no longer more and more an availability issue. It's more about, you know, providing confidence and customer trust that you can switch to electric vehicles now. That is compelling enough that that you won't have range anxiety, that you have a good experience. So that was the second one that that pop up for me. Yeah, and the last one, just because, you know, I'm a little bit more away from the industry compared to before. It was nice to have a recap of the new developments, especially on the car development, the battery, the price parity with ICE. So yeah, those 3 were incredibly refreshing to hear. Yeah, if I have to buy an EV today, it will be a no-brainer. So that's the most important part. Yeah, thanks again, Johanna, for the insightful keynote.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me, and have a great afternoon.